Welcome back to Emerging with Grace. Welcome back to part 2 of the Scarlett A. I'm your host, Doc G. In part 1, you heard about the events. You've heard about the chaos, the institutional silence, the financial scrabble, the surreal work of trying to piece together an academic future from the rubble of a closed school. Part 2 is a little bit different. Part 2 is quieter. Part 2 is the emotional grit. And I think this is the most important part because what our guests will share today is not just what happened, it's what it did to them. The grief that doesn't have a name, the anxiety that showed up in the body before the mind knew what to call it, the identity questions that still don't have clear answers, the weight of carrying a story that most people in your life simply cannot comprehend. There's a particular kind of loss that happens when an institutional fails you near the finish line. It doesn't look like other losses. There's no funeral. There's no public mourning. No one that brings you food. But it is a loss, and today we're naming it. This one's for everyone who needed someone to say out loud that what happened to you was real and that it mattered and that you are not alone. Stay with us. Welcome to Emerging with Grace. I'm loving having you here, and I'm glad that you chose this podcast to listen to. Please like, subscribe, and share so that more people can get to know how to emerge with grace. Thank you. But what I would like to pivot to, we have big feelings. I'm a play therapist, so that's my terminology. We have big feelings around this. We were angry. We were grieving. That is a loss that is very hard for people to understand. If you think about it, a lot of our families don't have doctoral people in it. So they didn't understand the journey to begin with. And then we get closed, and that's what you get for not going to a regular school. And then you go to another school, and they're like, why don't you just turn in your paper? Like, it's just a paper, right? Just turn it in. So what were your feelings about the grief that you went through, nobody acknowledging your grief, transferring to another school, or deciding to take your life in a different direction? What were your feelings about all of that?
I think for me, I would tell Dr. Garrett this all the time. And I'm sorry, I call her Dr. Garrett. I just love her so much. So she's just going to always she knows she's my friend, but Marquita, Dr. Garrett. But I would talk to her about this during that time. And one thing that I used to always say, if I didn't have nothing that I knew I could do in my life at the time, I could do school. Meaning, I've always enjoyed school. I've enjoyed the classroom. I wanted to be in the classroom. But I also had a young son, and I was a single mom at the time, and I had lost so much time with him to the point where he had adapted to my schedule. Like, literally, we would come home and, he was like 6, 7 years old at the time. It was like my village was always my parents. My mom would have my son fed, homework either started or what have you. By the time I picked him up, it was home, get your bath, finish your homework, let's eat dinner. And my bed would just have my papers and books just spread out. I would just push it to the side whenever I went to sleep at night. But he had got so accustomed to mommy's always in school that he would just crawl up in the bed, turn the TV on, and that was that, right? So the determination had to stay, that light had to stay lit because I had lost too much time of what I could spend with him. We were told, and one thing that I never forgot is your journey is a personal journey. And so for those that would say, oh, it's just a paper, why don't you just turn it in? It was just more evidence. No, you don't get it. And I don't have to explain my journey to you. I just know what I need to do. And so I leaned on the people that did get it that was going through it and understood, right? Didn't have to be many. Dr. Garrett was the main one during that time. And so she was enough for me because we went through the same experience. And so, yes, it was disappointing. And yes, I was hurt. And yes, I felt all the things. But if I'm being completely honest, I couldn't focus on that. I couldn't spend my energy revisiting how Argosy didn't do X, Y, and Z. I now had to tip in much deeper and go to another place to finish, right? And I had my meltdowns. I cried so much through my dissertation. I'd be lying if I said it was a lot of tears, but I just had to keep going. I had to finish. And we would encourage each other. It's like, it's not going to always be like this. We're going to get to the end. And that's how I dealt with that. And then when we started our residencies and we got in contact with instructors who had been through Argosy, it was like, okay, it just might be okay. But that didn't come without hurdles. It didn't come across with, oh, one more thing I got to jump on. I mean, you do feel like you're just constantly having to jump through hoops, but I had to stay determined. I had to stay focused. I had to get to the finish. That's why when I graduated, I literally took a year. I'm not doing nothing. I'm not writing. I took my year. I needed that year, because it's like once you finish, that was really when I felt all the things. That's when the exhaustion, the mental exhaustion, the emotional exhaustion, that's when it was real. And it was just like, you just feel like you're just being slapped on pavement. Like, I'm done. I can't, I have to take this time. So it was leaning on people like Dr. Garrett who understood it. It was tapping deep into that determination and just knowing that faith is everything. Like, I knew God was going to get me to the other side of this, but I had to go through all the things, but he was going to get me there.
I'll share about that. That exhaustion, you're 100% correct on that. It just wipes you out.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I took on a leadership role with the Maryland Counseling Development, Multicultural Counseling and Development Division with the Maryland Counseling Association. That was exhausting. It was a 3-year leadership role. And I get it, juggling school and back to quarterly classes versus semester. These things are accelerated and that makes them different. So you're doing so much so quick, you hardly have time to even think. So doing those classes, doing the leadership, and then trying to launch my own private practice, it was a lot going on. So when it came to that point for me to make that decision, that's like 90% of my decisions say, I got so much going on. I'm totally exhausted. I don't want to do this anymore. Because I had after I was going to finish Argosy, it was going to be the private practice I was going to start. So I said, it's just a little bit earlier, go ahead and invest myself there. And that took a lot of energy as well. I don't know how many people Argosy was a second choice for. Argosy was not my first choice. And while I was going through that school, I had asked Dr. Riggio before I even got there, I said, is this going to be, really focused on counseling skills because it's an education, leading to someone teaching or something like that, not necessarily
Like
being a
EDD.
clinician. Yeah, I said, is it going to be heavy in clinical skills? And she's like, yeah. I love her to death, but that wasn't what I found out. And so it was not, Argosy was not my first choice. I ended up at Argosy because I was stuck with the time to go to school to earn a doctoral degree, right? And I said, I got the time. I can't go to the school I would prefer to go to, so I'll just go ahead and get into a school I can get into. And that was Argosy. So I wasn't completely devastated. I was relieved when it was time for me to submit that application to Department of Education. I'm like, at least I'm out of this bill because that isn't what I wanted to do anyway. The further I went into the school program, I became more and more disenchanted, did not want to end up educating people. I wanted to be a clinician. And the thing I wanted to do was to earn my PsyD.
Oh, I wanted to do that.
I was happy that ended. Well, I couldn't go to school to be a psychologist because they wanted you on campus full time.
The
I couldn't
PsyD
do that.
program wanted
Single
you.
mom of
Yeah,
3
I was
kids,
a single mom as well.
right? going through a divorce that wasn't fun. Working, I spread myself so thin. You talk about kids having a routine. It's like they were on their own. I just fed them and put a roof over their head. They don't, is there a mom in here? We don't even know. And if she is here, she's consumed with something and going to sleep in the bed with books and laptops. And there was many a times where they would laugh and say, "You always fall asleep with a book in your hand." Because I'm already exhausted, but I'm pushing until my eyes close and I'm just out. Plenty of times woke up somewhere else other than my bed. So I wasn't devastated by Marquita. I was relieved that I could step away from something I did not want to truly put my time and energy into. So in the last year, because now I've had my private practice for almost 10 years, last year I started looking at a PsyD program that's offered online through California. So, and now with telehealth, that made everything so much easier. I'm like, you know what? I might just go ahead and do that now that I can because it's online, which pandemic helped switch things around a little bit for us. It's a PsyD, which is something I always really wanted to do. And I don't have those children anymore. So I can put 80% of my time into that. So to be honest with you, I was absolutely relieved to walk away. But I was pissed at the same time because I had
The option
so
wasn't
much
yours.
time there.
Mhm.
I like all that time I put in there. What was that, man? But I said, well, you gain some education, you learn some things, and if I wanted to do supervision, that's something that I could possibly do, but probably could teach in community college or bachelorette level program. I don't know, but it allows me to make those things an option if I wanted to like kind of scale down to pre retirement or getting ready for retirement. Maybe I'll teach a couple of classes over here or something like that. But other than that, relief.
Dr. Dunn?
I would say for me, it was a little bit of both. I think I'm still processing it all because I already had my practice going and I had people that were working for me full and part time. So for me, it was I just wanted to get done and finish. And when I got to pretty much the finish line where I successfully defended, it was all these issues with formatting my paper and she kept sending it back and I was like getting pissed off about that. But I got a lot of support from not only you, Marquita, but also my husband, my daughter, my parents. Like they were super supportive of everything. It was just times where like I said, I'd have to call you and either you wouldn't have it or I wouldn't have it, but you know what I mean? Just try to just talk about whatever was going on. And I think some people just really don't understand. I think it ends up being that situation where it's like unless you've gone through it, kind of like the military. Unless you've been in the military, you just don't know. It's a different culture, it's a different vibe, it's a different atmosphere. And unless you've been in the thick of it through this situation, you just really don't know. You don't understand it. Because even when it came to, I felt like I didn't want Argosy nowhere on my transcript. I didn't want Argosy nowhere on my resume because I also felt like, okay, when I go to apply for these jobs to teach, I'm like, oh, she was at that school. Oh no, we're not gonna, it seemed like it was a stigma that came with it, to be honest with you.
You got the Scarlett
And then
A.
so yeah, exactly. So now I'm slowing down now. Actually, I've been kind of dialing it back now where I'm like, okay, I did everything. I'm fine. I want to be at home. I want to be able to travel with my babies and teach online if I want to. If I don't want to, I don't want to do it. Just do supervision, close my practice because it just gets to be too much to be able to deal with, especially the new clinicians, and they want to fight for more money, and insurance companies don't really want to pay you more money. Like it's a whole different story when it comes to the business side of things, which I wish programs should have taught more about, right? I'm definitely still processing it all because it was a very traumatic situation that we went through. I actually wrote a chapter and it was published as well with Dr. Cyrus Williams that's at Regent University. It is called like One Wild Academic Ride because it was a wild ride. Like you get all the way up to almost being finished and then they like, hold on.
I didn't realize that was about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Through like it just took you through there and it's I think I don't know if you want to touch on this, but some of the stuff that's now happening in social media is almost like a slap in the face.
So that's what brought me to this show. My daughter called me, and I took April off from social media. I actually said I was going to take off until after Mother's Day. So this will be my first broadcast since March.
Mm.
My daughter called me, and I didn't tell any of my children what happened. I was married at the time, and my husband said, "Well, that's it. You tried. You did the best you could." And I was like, "Oh, no, that's not it." And not having the support to continue on and go back. Like I said, I didn't tell my children. I didn't tell my mother. I was just angry, and I seethed within me. And my daughter came home. She was home for a quick 3-month period. And I was talking to a colleague, another play therapist, and she said, "Marquita, whatever happened to you getting your doctorate? I thought you would have been done by now." Like I said, I didn't tell anyone. I just went into Walden. Matter of fact, I remember starting at Walden and receiving the letter that I had to take 5 classes. I cursed out the student advisor for they just got everything. Like, I just unleashed everything on them. And I said, "Well, Marquita, it's time to go back to therapy. We got to go back to therapy because this is something," and I say this all the time, therapists need therapy just as well. And if you don't believe in the process, then what are you selling to your clients? You selling them a bridge in not Brooklyn. Brooklyn has a bridge. But are you selling them a bridge that doesn't exist because it's a unicorn? And I tell my students this all the time. I believe in therapy. And I believe that we're taking on the world. We're taking on everybody's stuff. It was the pandemic, and I'm angry. I'm angry at the pandemic. I'm angry at being inside. I'm angry that I'm trying to figure out this private practice thing because, like you guys said, I started the private practice because I was about to graduate. I already knew it's about to come. Like, here we go. Let's get this. So by my first year of private practice, I thought, hey, let's start this. My daughter happened to walk in on me having a conversation with somebody, and I was livid to the point of crying. Not crying like boo-hoo, but crying where the tears just would not stop. And I was like, I did this, I did that, I did the other thing, I did everything right. I researched this college before I started it. I started my dissertation early because at Argosy, they have you start in like the 4th quarter.
Yeah, but I
Get
want to say
your
you write your first chapter in I think it's that that last research class that Dr. Trahan was teaching. It's pretty much the start of your first chapter.
Right. And I started under Dr. Trahan. I ran through what I wanted to do. And basically, chapter 1 was written by the time I finished qualitative because I was going to do a qualitative study on adolescence. So, like Denise said, I was in chapter 4 with very little guidance other than the fact that I'm doing qualitative and I'm going to get this done. And my daughter said, "Mommy, this is going on in social media, and they said they went to Argosy and they didn't have access to this, that, or the third." And I said, "That's not the way it works because my mother did it." So, like I said, I didn't tell my kids anything. I didn't tell anybody anything. They think that me and my husband got a divorce because I'm just a mean person. I was mean. I was very angry. I was very upset about a lot of things. And he wasn't making it better because he was like, "Look, babe, we got married and we're supposed to be living our dream." And I'm like, "No, I got to finish school." And when we got married, I only had a few more months left to go.
Yeah.
So
We
that
got
took a
married around
toll.
the same time, actually.
You got married in April. I got married in August. I got married in August. Denise got married in September.
Boom, boom, boom.
So I was like, "Oh no, I don't think you understand. I have put this off for my kids. My kids, I wanted they said, Mommy, you going to school too much. So I stopped going to school. Then my second set of kids, they said, Mommy, you going to school too much. So I finished with my master's and I said, I'll get my doctorates. My son literally graduated in 2015 and I literally started in January 2016 at Argosy. And my son was with me. He was enjoying the pizza at the reception area of me starting. So I was like, oh, okay, I can do this now. But I put off my grandkids. I put off games. I put off life. You know, my grandkids, oh, can we come stay the night with you, with the weekend, whatever?
Yeah.
I got school.
Yes.
So each section of my life experienced me going to school, and I should have been done.
Yeah.
So 6 years of my life, because 3 years at Argosy and 3 years at Walden, was just absorbed. So when I did my prospectus, when I just broke down, put my head on my laptop because it was COVID, so we couldn't go in. And I cried. I cried like a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter picked up on some of that. I think I was talking to Denise afterwards. I was like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And my daughter, she didn't say anything until this stuff started going around social media. And she said, oh no, my mom went through that. My mom did not. She can show you her degree. She can show you her dissertation. She can show you everything to show who she is. So I got to talking to Michelle. And I said, I don't really want to focus on what's going on in social media, although it has brought up some old hurt. I want to focus on the ethics of what counselors go through and how we want to see this whole field in a better light.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to get your doctorate in counseling, most of us already, like we've already spoken here, we already had a practice. We were already working. We were already licensed. Our license does not depend on your doctorate degree.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So our doctorate degree is our dedication to the field, which is what I wrote my dissertation on that actually I finished. Supervision is to make sure that the field is pure. It's for us to gatekeep. It's for other students to come through. And I deal with students all the time that I let them know, I can't just let you go through just because you decided to take a few courses.
Mm-hmm.
This is not easy. And I know Michelle said the other day, I know each and every one of you have heard a client that you have helped say, oh, I'm going to be a therapist. I could just sit there and listen to what you say. So the ethics is what kept me going.
Yeah, we are charged with that duty of gatekeeping, and it's a big job, but people don't see all of that, Marquita. I don't know when being a psychotherapist became a fad. Everybody's running around, I'm gonna be a therapist. And it is not about that.
During COVID on TikTok.
Yeah. And they think it's easy.
When they saw social media, like, oh, I could do that.
Mm-hmm. It runs deeper though, because yes, we're supposed to gatekeep, but you have these schools passing these students along because they need bodies in the seat because they need the money. And I've seen it, and it's not okay because there's so many people that have graduated that should not be in this field. And at some point they do pass, the NCE, and they become a therapist when they were struggling through the program and should not even have been admitted into the program, to be honest with you, because they have their own mental health struggles. And then you have some of these professors who either did not have a license and are teaching people to go out into the field, or just got their license and are teaching and are finding things out. And now I think they're seeing that, oh, okay, these students really shouldn't be in here, but it's too late now. We already got them in here, right?
Because everybody wants their own private practice.
And
it looks good.
That's not even possible. It's not realistic. And let's be clear, our field is oversaturated now.
In
And
Maryland? Because it's not
oversaturated.
oversaturated in Virginia.
It's definitely period, I believe, because if you look at all these companies coming in and taking over and everybody want to do that, it's too much. It's too much, like, just out there, and everyone. I've never seen people besides our field like doctors when they go and like, oh, I'm gonna go open up my own hospital. No, you work under someone, you train, you perfect your craft, and then you open up or you do your own practice thing. But you got people coming out of school wanting to do it and thinking that it's so easy. And Alma and Headway and Rula have actually made it easier for them to get credentialed and practice, but that's not safe.
Let's be clear. They get credentialed with insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And it is becoming an issue now. I don't know if you guys have heard about the lawsuit of the woman who, and I talk about confidentiality all the time too. That's another one of my pet peeves. You're on social media and you're talking about clients, like your clients don't know who you're talking about. But they get credentialed with insurance, and then insurance only pays a certain amount because a company has decided how much pay should be. Headway and different other places. But they're being sued because that same company that, and this is out of your hands, well, I don't know. For those people who go through those programs, those notes are put in with a company that's not your own. And then the company is being sued, the therapist is being sued because the company says, what is the lawsuit? A woman decided to sue her employer or something, I forget. Her employer asked for every last one of the therapy notes.
And they released it.
They released them because I don't know. I've never worked for those headhunting companies, but somehow they felt it was okay for them to go ahead and release. And now the company is using those against the employee. So here we go. People who don't know counseling, don't know psychotherapy, that are just getting into business and doing whatever they want to do.
And it's rough because it makes it hard for the professionals in the field. We can't now go to Care First and the other insurance companies to ask for an increase because they pretty much say, oh, go to Alma and go to Headway. Like, we're not going to negotiate with you because these other companies already pay more. So that's why our field, it's just becoming too much with so many people that are not knowledgeable, don't care, and are just worried about money instead of the patient care. Quality care is being put, off, and they want quantity. How many services can you provide in this little bit amount of time? And it's really sad. And I wonder what this field is turning into because people are opening up counseling programs at schools left and right, like it's just new. And you have students coming in and taking these programs thinking that it's so I just got to sit there and it's not that easy.
Well,
And you got I'm sorry, but you have students that are arguing with you. I had students that would argue with me over grades over stuff. And they lack the professionalism and decorum, not to mention the disposition to be a counselor.
Yeah.
So it's just incredibly sad.
I work for a school that allows you to write them up for disposition and AI and different things like that. What were you going to say, Michelle?
When I was in Argosy doing TA, I remember using the rubric like we were told to use, and the professor argued with me when I would score the student low. I'm like, I'm not making this up. I'm going off the rubric, right? They're coming in with very little writing skills, reading comprehension, articulation, self-regulation, abstract. They're coming in so depleted of what we would think a therapist would need to have, especially in the master's program. And the professor was pushing against me. As I watched the grade change from a D to a B. I'm like, wow, how do you do that? So yeah, so the field can get saturated with a lot of people who are not equipped to do it. But in light of that, I think it's scarier when we have clinicians who are LG status opening up a private practice, looking for a licensed supervisor to supervise them so they can just simply be in private practice.
LG
work
is
for
a
Licensed
LG is
graduate.
licensed graduate in Maryland.
Not fully licensed,
Mhm.
not
A
able to be
resident in
independent.
Virginia.
So I was gonna say
Exactly.
in Virginia, be a resident. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What
not
is it
full
in Florida?
licensed.
Not Florida. I'm sorry. You're in Texas now. I should have said that. What is it in Texas when you just graduate? Can you get a private?
You are an LPC associate. You can open up a private practice, but you have to be supervised under a licensed professional counselor.
But we know that
Not
just
safe.
coming out of school, getting your
You're not ready.
provisional license, we know you're not ready.
Mm-mm.
Yet they walk into these private practices thinking that it's, oh, I'm here now. Well,
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
no.
Oh, I can start my own.
mhm.
And there's students that couldn't even, like, when I was teaching, their internship sites wanted to fire them and let them go. They had to go to, like, you're not ready. You're not ready.
Yeah. I worry about why people come to me in the middle of internship. What were you going to say, Denise?
No, I was just thinking, with with the students that are coming behind us, when we're talking about ethics, one of the things that I recognize is that ethical practice is not just about maintaining how we follow rules, right? It's our morals. It's
Mhm.
standards that we set for ourselves. So to Sade's point, when you have a student that is arguing about points loss or their expectations of this, I love the fact that you can advocate for yourself. And I appreciate that you're doing that. But my responsibility is not to just give you the points for good effort,
Mhm.
right? Like you have to understand that there is a responsibility to make sure that you are prepared for this field. It's not about can you do the class? We can all do coursework,
Mhm.
right? Everybody.
No. There's some people that can't do
Okay,
Okay, so
coursework.
let me personalize that. In
Me
my
advice.
experience, I would say I'm coasting, right? I understand program. We know classes, being independent. And you're right. Some students don't have that down, right? But it's like I try to make sure that I keep in mind how important it is to prepare. And
Mhm.
that's not a perfect system, but it needs to be explained. Like this is not just about pushing you through. And then if you do want to go into private practice, I want you to think about what your expectations are and how's that going to show up in front of your client. You know, I opened up my private practice 8 months after I graduated. And Dr. Garrett would say, it's hard. It's nobody really understand what it means to be your own boss. And I can admit, no, I have done everything in this field. I have not done private practice. I want to get that experience. And then, I didn't want to work for anybody anymore. I wanted to be my own boss. And that's when she was saying, no, man, don't let being your own boss, it is so hard. But guess what? I have the freedom to do. I have the freedom to make sure that these are my standards, these are my expectations, and I can be consistent with. There's no negotiations here.
Mhm.
What?
Well, Denise, were you fully licensed though?
Mhm.
That's different. We're talking about people who are not.
But
When
I'm supervising people who are not, right? And so when those people come in and you're that's part of that gatekeeping that you mentioned, right? So it's like you still have to have those conversations even though they have graduated and they are registered with the state. They still need reminders also, and then with the students that I teach that are working on their graduate degrees, it's not, sometimes I wonder, I have said this to that I'm like, I don't remember being this kind of student. I don't think I was like this. Like, I don't understand.
It's a different world.
Yeah, at the institution that I'm in, students focus on points. So discussion questions are worth less than another assignment. So they're going to focus on that assignment that has the most points. And I'm like, why are we doing this? This it's not about the points. It's about what are you what it what are you understanding from it? But they want to argue
Mhm.
points. And I had a student say to me, well, Dr. Anderson, we can't afford to lose those points. You're going to lose more than that if you don't get the foundation of why we're even doing this.
Well, because
So,
those
the tricky part is the universities they're political. Like when I was a TA and I'm like, hey, I know this student didn't earn this grade, but the professor is the one who's really responsible for the student, not me. So that professor is going to lean more towards satisfying the school's whatever demand they have for professors. So it was out of the professor's hands, I think. I think that professor was worried that the student could push against that, make complaints, and it would be difficult for the professor. So I've
That's
heard
why you
students
document.
taking
It's
universities to court. So
yeah, it's really challenging too because they do weaponize the other professors and your chair and stuff against you as well because you have these students that are used to getting A's and then they got their first B or C. They can't handle it. They just can't. Or they don't have that disposition. Or you have the other professors, well, they're a really good student in my class. That doesn't mean two things can be it can be true at the same time. They can be a good student in your class and a terrible student in my class or have a terrible disposition.
yeah.
But you have like the whole, especially I was in the tenure track position and went on and walked away from it because it just wasn't worth the time, the effort, the disrespect, and the lack of effort from the students putting in, to their work. You have some exceptional students and you have some that are just not even mid and they're passing them through because they feel sorry for them. Some of these professors are getting a little bit too personal with the students and
Mm,
it's really none of your business what's going on in their, life beyond, did you get this paper done? It's really
right.
none of your business. Because then you get involved in that, then you are dealing with a whole host of other issues. Well, I have a drug problem. Well, my boyfriend beats on me. Well, this is, and now you're trying to counsel when you're only supposed you stay in your lane as the professor.
Mm-hmm.
So
Because
then it's, well,
as my
she's
mother
struggling. So can
says,
you just kind of look at her grade?
they
I
feel that
understand.
this field has empathy and you can get over.
Hmm.
And it's not just get over in the field, but get over with your professor, get over with anybody in this field should have empathy for you. And I understand that, but that's not how we keep this field clear with
Safe.
licensed, ethical people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I
Um,
mean, it's
we're gonna have
dangerous.
to wrap up.
Oh, yeah.
So like real quick, any last words from you guys? 1 minute apiece.
I will say, one, thank you for this time and thank you for being my therapist when I needed it because I know I would call you when we were going through this. And I mean, it was a lot. I hadn't thought about this journey in some time, but it was hell. But I'm glad I got through it. The takeaways from the journey, I definitely, have a lot more empathy for everything that happened to everyone. Like even some of the people that did finish, that like it burned you out so much you don't even want to practice no more sometimes. You just don't want to do it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thankful for this. I'm thankful for the conversation and seeing Michelle again and Dr. Anderson meeting you. But yeah, I thank you. I survived. That's what I'll say.
Yes, you did.
I survived.
Yeah, I want to thank you too, Marquita, for hosting this little talk because I hadn't thought about Argosy like that, my experience that way before. But I appreciate that because I do want to say that that was a very trying time, but it also demonstrated to each one of us that we have some tenacity to us, right? No matter what, we have some tenacity. And I appreciate that too because in my field of practice, the humanistic approach that I use, this just helped me to embrace some of the things in life that are unfortunate, that are outside of our control. I think I can transition a lot of that into how I practice therapy. So that life experience was very elevating for me and in a personal way, right? And like I can embrace more. You can have tenacity, you can have a fire underneath you, you can have an ultimate goal, you can have sacrificed a lot of time, energy, and effort, and whatever else went into that, but it still doesn't mean that you have to continue trying to reach something. Like for myself, it's like, you know what, maybe this is a period where I can say, let me switch and go the other way and
Mm.
still find something like an alternative or that other thing that still brings you a tremendous amount of satisfaction. I'm so very happy that I did go into private practice and I did sink myself into it and utilizing all that experience as a way to support my clients and embracing life's adversities as well. So thank you again, Marquita.
Yeah, it was so nice to meet Michelle and Sade. It's nice to put faces, right? Marquita has always been a sounding voice for me. So just allowing me to be in the same space to have these conversations, is an added blessing. Like Michelle, I don't think about Argosy that much, at least not in the way that I'm talking about it, but it certainly does drive me, meaning it has shown me that I am stronger in ways that I didn't even realize. And it has definitely contributed to who I became as a professional. It has helped reshape who I am before my students. I don't forget. I remember. I tell my students all the time, I am not that far removed. I earned my doctorate degree in 2022. I am not that far removed. I still remember what it was like to be a student. I still remember what it was like to juggle and gain work-life balance. I get it. But at the same time, your individual story is going to bring your own challenges. And so how you choose to deal with that is something that nobody's going to be able to help you through, but you will be able to help the person that comes after you. So I have learned to appreciate the blessing. And I can, even though I may not have been able to see it then, God showed me that he had something bigger and better. So I'm thankful for the experience, but I choose not to relive it. I just choose to keep showing up in a ways that will help those that come behind us see that, this field has so many great things and we have so much to pour into it. And it's professionals like us that keeps the integrity in the field.
I want to thank each and every one of you. Each and every one of you are still a big part of my life. Sade, you didn't just lean on me, I leaned on you. And then I could lean on Denise, and Denise could lean on me. And Michelle has been an ethical sounding board every month, first Sunday of each month, making sure that we talk about things and stay fresh as supervisors. And I tell my students and I tell my colleagues, I need that. I need that monthly to make sure that I am staying where I need to be. We all need to be able to lean on somebody. And I thank Argosy for bringing us all together. So thank you guys. And I appreciate you taking the time out today.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
I very seldom recommend products unless I like them, I use them, and I agree with them. So when I tell you that this lint-free, no tree, 100% bamboo, biodegradable tissue is strong, 3-ply, and beautiful, I'm trying to tell you, Leafy is it. I will leave my coupon code in the bottom of the description. It's DocG25.
Waiting my life for the sunshine. All of my cloudy days. Just a prayer away.